The Heal Skelly Turbo Communion. Just one of the many reasons why I love Dominions, and I'm going to show you in this video how to do it. I want to give a special shout out to Seventh Path for originally showing me this concept near the end of Dom 5, where he published his guide on human Skelly Turbo Communions via undying in items. Without him, I would have never kind of built off of this or even, tinkered with any of this because I didn't know that Heal was even off-scripted in Dominions. So special shout out to him for getting this all started. The Heal Skelly Turbo Communion. Early game tech that you can deploy in your first war to maybe help win or push over your opponent. This is tech that comes online at Enchantment 3, Alteration 2, Blood 1, or Thaumaturgy 1. This utilizes raised skeletons as your main damage source, but you could technically supplement this if you had other mages with the respective paths. In order to do something like this, you need a slave that can regen 3 a turn, and you need a mage with nature to enter your communion. Importantly, giving personal regen and enlarge. How this works is the slaves will take a bunch of damage from its masters, but you'll mitigate this via regen and heal/healing touch. As the mages spam, they'll just out-heal the damage that the masters are doing to the slaves, and it doesn't matter that they're not the same path, but this is something you can do early game. How do you set this up though? Here's an example from M.A. Zilbalba. This is utilizing 2 healer masters that are in the center and 4 slaves as the batteries. The slaves are in Jaguar form, so you can see them easily on this little screen here. And then I have the masters spread about. The positioning is going to be whatever you want, but the important thing to know, regardless of your setup, is your healers need to touch your slaves, meaning they need to be next to each other square-wise. This is important so they can cast Healing Touch off script, otherwise you might blow up your communion. I recommend 6 to 7 masters and 4 slaves if you want to be slave. This is not including the healers in the exact total, so it would technically be 9 masters, 2 of which are healers, and 7 masters casting whatever they want. You can technically add more, but you might risk blowing up your communion if you do so. Important to consider is who you place as guards in your Heal Skelly Turbo Communion. I strongly recommend you don't place guards a lot of the time, as guards can sometimes eat spell slots such as Barkskin, Enlarge, and other spells, and sometimes this can matter as your mage, who is the healer, will waste their script slot on buffing instead of healing the slaves. If you are going to place a guard for whatever reason, like maybe you're fighting Kalem or Nazca, Long Dead are a great option, but I also recommend that you just maybe place your battery in the center and you don't have a bunch of guards, but it's kind of tricky sometimes with the positioning, so do mess around with it. Coming to my closing thoughts while editing this video, I just wanted to highlight that this tech is not unique to these 3 MA nations, and these are just nations that natively can do this without any prior investment. This tech is not without its counters, as there are many ways to disrupt the battery through spells such as Howl, Mists of Deception, or Vengeance of the Dead. You also can use tactics like holding an attack rear or other methods to try to snipe the slaves in order to defund the battery that the masters are using. It is also hard to set up and balance if you are the player utilizing it, so you have to be careful with what you plug into your communion. In addition, there might be more vulnerabilities depending on your specific scenario if you're playing against this tech. Do explore what your particular problem has and try to counter it. There could be low MR, or the slaves could be the biggest thing on the battlefield, so orders such as attack largest could be an answer. Also, things like tramplers, like air elementals or earth elementals, if they get into the slave, will very easily disrupt the battery and thus render it useless. So do explore your options when playing against this.